Okay, here we go. Get pumped, get pumped,
Right,
get pumped.
good.
3, 2, 1.
You want the American dream. You want the life, the liberty, the happiness. But until you get there, until you achieve your goals and make your dreams come true, you know what you have. You have the journey, the hustle, the climb. I'm Kelsey Humphreys, and this is The Pursuit. Thank you for joining me in sunny Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City is my hometown and thus the logical place for us to shoot our pilot. It is also going through an entrepreneurial renaissance with tons of small businesses opening up that's been exciting to see. We have tons of pizza joints and cupcake shops, farm-to-table restaurants. We have 9 breweries in Oklahoma City, and we are joining the food truck revolution with 17 food trucks in Oklahoma City alone. In related news, Oklahoma is the 10th fattest state in America. Well, Oklahoma City, though, is working to change that stat, and we're actually one of the healthier cities in the nation. And we're home to big business as well, like Sonic, America's Drive-In, and Devon Energy, Sandridge Energy, Chesapeake Energy, Lynn Energy, American Energy Partners, and Giant Christian Craft Superstore Hobby Lobby. So yes, we are the reddest city of all the red cities of all the red states, and we're proud of it. Except for the hippies who drive the food trucks, they're not so proud. And lastly, in keeping with our food theme, Oklahoma City is apparently an awesome place to sell Girl Scout cookies. The national record for most Girl Scout cookies sold was broken here when little Katie sold over 18,100 boxes of Girl Scout cookies. Wow. If that's not hustle, I don't know what is. You go, Katie. She kind of sums up our state motto, which is labor conquers all, which is about the least sexy motto I've ever heard in my life, but it might explain why we are the #1 place to start a startup, according to CNN Money, and the 8th best place to be an entrepreneur, according to Forbes. I'm excited to be at the office of Next Level Solutions today, talking to one such Oklahoma City entrepreneur, the one and only Scott Williams. You may know Scott from his most recent book, Go Big, and his popular leadership blog at bigisthenewsmall.com. He is an accomplished international speaker, sought-after consultant, constantly traveling to help organizations with his consulting company, Next Level Solutions, and he is a social media power player with over 180,000 Twitter followers, and the man knows how to use Instagram. Scott, thank you so much for letting us come to your office and chat today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to spending some time with you. And I need to let you just travel with me and do that introduction because that was legit.
Well, I'd love to do that.
Okay,
You travel all the time. Speaking of travel, man, you just recently spoke in Australia and New Zealand, did like kind of a mini world tour. And I know you spoke for the Chrysler Corporation, like huge corporations. So I know so many aspiring speakers, consultants, bloggers are going to love what you have to say. And for that reason, I want to start at the very beginning of your consulting career. So when you first started, how did you know it was time to go out on your own?
That's a good question. I think in order to talk about the launch of Next Level Solutions, let me kind of rewind back a few years. I used to work in corrections. That was kind of my background, kind of my claim to fame in the corrections world, as I was one of the youngest prison wardens in the country.
Wow.
And so I worked for a private corrections company based out of Oklahoma City. And at the time, I knew that, you know, as things were moving and progressing, I really felt like I needed to step out at that time. A great secure job. I was at the corporate office doing amazing things. And I said, you know, I really feel like it's time to start a consulting company at that time. So at that time, I leaped out and we started a consulting company where we worked with correctional agencies, with state agencies, with private agencies, and we kind of helped them prepare for their accreditation audits, as well as I was a lobbyist and a political consultant. And so I've taken that plunge once before. So that's what I did many years ago. Then after that, the Lord had called me to full-time ministry, and so I went and worked at Life Church for full-time as a pastor for about 5 years. And then while I was at Life Church, I started having opportunities outside to be able to touch and to impact and influence people outside the immediate sphere that God had given me. And so next thing you know, one thing led to another. I had a book deal, and I felt like I had a message I needed to travel and share. And so we were, we stepped out, and that's when we started this consulting company this time. So it'll be 4 years this March.
That's cool. You said I felt like I had a message I needed to share. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
So now you know, and I know, and most entrepreneurs know that we, as entrepreneurs, tend to fail in that first 1 to 2 years. That's like the big risk zone. So in that very beginning first couple years, what were like 1, 2, or 3 things that you did that you think kept launching your momentum and kept you from early failure?
I think the big thing is that it's all about commitment and it's asking the right question, because when you step out and do this, because I had a number of friends that were kind of doing things simultaneously with me, and next thing you know, they would close up shop or they would say, hey, I tried it. Next thing you know, they're working a 9 to 5. And so for me, I think the question is always, they were asking, well, what if this doesn't work? And I always start with the question of what if it does? And so my question all along the way, what if this does work? What if we can go have an impact? What if we can do this? And so when I left Life Church, I took a month off and I just didn't do anything but just kind of prepare for what was next and just asking the question, what if this does work? And so I think one thing led to another, and really, marketing is a strength of mine. It's been, as long as I can remember, I've always been able to share a story, help other people share their story. I used to be a concert promoter many years ago. As a matter of fact, Tyler Perry's very first play that he did, I was kind of part of that play going out many years ago. And so since I've launched Next Level Solutions, we haven't had to market one time. And so I think the most important thing we do is every opportunity that we got in front of us, we made sure that we just did a stellar job, and then people shared and told the story. And so I think the most important thing is asking the question, what if it does work? Because if you start from there, then all the answers and the possibilities, and even the struggles and trials and tribulations, they're no big deals. What if it does work? What if it works on the other side of this? And so I think that was a big thing. Make sure we provided quality services, and then just share the story. Just share the story along the way.
Yeah, talking about sharing your story, your blog has grown, huge. You have advertisers on your blog, which I know is, a goal for a lot of beginning bloggers, or even, mid to high level bloggers want to get to that point. Did you have a strategy, or was it just, sharing your thoughts, or did you have a tactic?
I could say that whenever I started blogging, I had this mastermind plan of this is what I'm going to do, this I'm going to do. When I hit this benchmark, we're going to do this, and hopefully advertisers come. But that's just really not the case. It was probably late 2006 is when one of our leaders at Life Church, he came to us and said, hey guys, there's this thing called a Google Reader. You can get this reader and you can put these blogs, and these blogs are like these short snippets that people are writing. You guys might want to start reading and get a Google Reader and subscribe to some of these blogs. He said, you know what? And some of you guys might even want to write one. I'm like, what is a blog? So I started looking. I got a Google Reader. I subscribed to some blogs. So for me, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm researching #1 blogger in the world. If I want to learn what blogging is about, who's the #1 blogger in the world? Seth Godin came up. And so Seth Godin came up, so I started doing research on Seth Godin. And about this time, it was going into probably late 2006 is when Seth Godin's book he had just released, which was a compilation of his blogs, and it was called Small is the New Big. And so his book was called Small is the New Big. I don't know if you're familiar, it's the one with the little babies on it. And so that was the most popular thing. He's a #1 blogger. It's a New York Times best-selling book. And so I started reading, so I'm like, maybe I'll start a blog. And so I go to GoDaddy and look and see Small is the New Big. Let me try to find some plays off of that. Big is the New Small was available, so I got it. I launched it, and this is just the honest truth, I still get so much traffic from people searching Small is the New Big, Seth Godin. Matter of fact, if you search right now, Small is the New Big, if you Google it and put Small is the New Big and then put the word blog after it, my blog will come up and then Seth Godin stuff will come up. And so for years, and actually I had a conversation with Seth about it, thinking he might have an issue with it, but he thought it was clever, he loved it, and so that's where a lot of traffic came. And then I was real aggressive, so I would read other people's stuff, I would comment, I would do everything that I could just to listen, look, learn, and we just got really aggressive, and was really blessed that people, listened to some things that I had to say.
Man, I'm floored right now. That is so smart. Man, I'm going to go Google it right now. I can't even get over it.
Yes.
So talking about, looking at leaders and people who are, masters of what they're doing, at the beginning, it can be so hard as a solopreneur out on your own. How did you find leadership? Did you join organizations, or did you already have mentors, or who guided you?
My very first launch, when I launched this to the corrections consulting company as a lobbyist, that's what really prepared me for so much, because I did join an organization, the National Association of Self-Employed, and a lot of people don't know, but there's just lots of little perks and benefits that come out of a pretty inexpensive membership. So I did that. There was a lot of tools for, people that are stepping out as a solopreneur and even growing as an entrepreneur that just had a lot of different information and things that were available to you. So I did that. And then I'm just constantly reading. I think that was the beauty of blogs, was just there's so many short snippets of information there. I don't even have to go read a whole book. There was just such good information. And then you could look, listen, and learn. And I was real fortunate to have a mentor, kind of the guy who took a risk on me when I was this young 25-year-old warden. And so he's a guy that always poured into me. He always believed in me. He always encouraged me. He always challenged me. And then he would also correct me if things got off course. And so really fortunate to have him pour into my life. And then now I have another guy who has a very similar, I'd say similar in scope, consulting agency, but he works with a lot of the Fortune 100 organizations. And what he said was, in his life and where he's at, he just wants to pour into and give back to a young guy. And so he's been great along the way. And so finding those people and just really seeking them out and just saying, what can I learn? And just to get a phone call with someone. And there's always someone that's several steps ahead of you. And so I would always go after it, look, listen, learn. And the big thing is just you have to be aggressive, and you really do. And I think that's where a lot of people miss it. They see, what this could be, but they don't understand, like, you have to be aggressive, you have to be hungry. I try to say you have to be hungry, you have to be committed, and you have to be focused.
Wow.
And so I think with those things really work.
Man, he's preaching, y'all. This is good. Man, fast forward to now. For someone who's looking to be the next Scott and wants to be, a traveling speaker, wanted consultant and all that, what is the best and the worst part of the actual consulting business that you have?
Oh, the best and the worst. I think the best is the opportunity to really have reach and impact all around the world. I mean, we have clients everywhere from Australia, New Zealand, Nigeria, all throughout the United States. So really get to touch and impact really large organizations, churches, nonprofits all around the world. So I mean, that's amazing. Like, part, which a lot of people think is the sexiest part of it, is the coolest part of it, is travel for me, because like I have two young boys, and so as much as I love going around the world, that's the thing that I can do without as well. It's an arduous deal, just travel all the time. I think this past year I might have probably hit it 100 days. Wow. 100 days. My family probably traveled 30 of those days, and so the net is about 70, because when my family's with me, I don't consider travel, even though they're out doing their thing during the day. I mean, they've been 2 or 3 times to Hawaii last year alone, and so we have some great opportunities. And so the travel, it's just, it's hard on you.
So what is an average day like? And maybe you'll have to tell us, like, on the road versus at home.
Right. Okay, so I'd say an average day on the road. So flying out of Oklahoma City, I think the beauty of that, Oklahoma City has one of the best airports as far as efficiency, and I'm not just biased because I love Oklahoma City. It really does. But if you're going to fly anywhere out of Oklahoma City, you're going to have to catch connecting flights. So all my flights are going to be at 6 o'clock in the morning, which means I'm up at 4 something, be at the airport by 5, and so that's part of this. My morning will start very, very early. And so I'm traveling. Once I get to wherever I'm at, and my rule is I work in airports and in hotels and in airplanes. When I'm home, I'm spending time with family. I'm going to, different events at school during the daytime. My wife and I are going to our kids' practices at 2:30 in the afternoon. We're going to events during the day. My wife and I are hanging. We're sitting around watching, television. We're going to lunch. So when I'm here, and then also that's when I spend time with some of my local clients and have meetings. And when I'm home, I'm like, I don't want to use the term soccer dad, but really, I'm just hanging.
With that day-to-day life, what are some of your must-have tools that you use for your business and personally, just your must-have things?
Evernote is a must for sure. FreshBooks is a must for all of your financing, invoicing, all of that. Fluid Surveys, it's a lot like SurveyMonkey, but I think it's a much better product. And then I just think anything Apple. I'm an Apple fan for a number of reasons, but I think it does, when you're talking about a lot of what we do is branding and marketing and strategy, I think it's important to have all these pieces go together. I think it says something about who you are, what you represent, how you think, how you work. And so any and all Apple products.
What about social media? I mean, you're very in social media. Do you have specific apps?
Yeah, I'll say I'm a Hootsuite. I use Hootsuite. I think it's one of the best tools you can have for managing all of your dashboards, for everything in there. I use Instagram in its native client. I use that on a regular basis. That's how I interact with it. I'm a Twitter first guy. Like Twitter is my primary social media application, and so I'll use it in Hootsuite or sometimes just a native app.
Speaking of Twitter, we have a question from Twitter. @Ryan Eller asks, how social media has played a role in your success?
I think that, back to the blogging. So when I started blogging and writing, started to have a pretty significant influence in the Christian space and leadership space. And so I think that really began to give some credibility to what I was saying. And then one thing at Twitter, I was a very, very early adopter. And so when I was on Twitter, it was folks that were like the real techie tech folks. And again, I wasn't a techie tech guy. I just was a guy that didn't do Facebook, didn't do any of the other ones, and I heard about this Twitter thing, so I jumped on it real early. And again, one thing it did is it leveled the playing field. Now all of a sudden you can say something, you can connect with folks, you can have influence really, really in a quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Okay, so speaking of Twitter, there are some sad, pathetic people out there, may or may not be blonde, may or may not be hosting the show, that some days all they want in life is to be verified on Twitter. So did you do anything special to get verified on Twitter? Do you have any tips?
All about the pursuit of the blue check, right? Is that
Yes,
so we're talking
exactly.
about pursuit of the blue. Actually, one of the things that actually once you get the blue check, you actually have to sign an agreement that you will never tell how you got the blue check, or your Twitter account will be deleted forever.
I feel like he's lying to us.
No, true story. Actually, someone had reached out to me about being verified, and so someone from Twitter had reached out about at the time they were verifying certain demographics, certain whatever, and so.
So you're no help to me.
You know what? And it's a question I wish I had a better answer, because it's probably of anything that I get asked, especially on DM and private, it's that. How do I get the blue check?
Man.
How do I get the blue
That's a sad
check?
state of affairs.
How do I get the blue
people.
check? Now, one of my friends that I work with, he plays professional basketball now. Now, I do know how they get the blue check. Like, it's part of what their agent does. They have a certain person that's responsible for NBA, but mine was part of the secret society blue check.
Okay, so I know, I'm just gonna keep moving because he's offered me nothing. So I asked your assistant, Nicole, and she confirmed my suspicion that so many people hit you up like, hey, can we just grab coffee? Can I just pick your brain? People who are aspirers, who are starting, who are, at the beginning. So just to wrap it up today, you can't get coffee with all those people, but right now, if you could just tell them, something, what would your number one piece of advice be for those people?
My blog has had this slogan, dream big, think bigger. And I think that's very, very important. Like, don't limit yourself with your dreams, and don't let the negative and limiting thoughts of others limit what you can do, because really there's this unlimited potential inside of each and every one of us. And if we dig in and like I said earlier, if we're committed, I'm going to do this no matter what. If we're focused and saying laser focused, this is what I'm going to do. And the thing is, then when you do, and you have to stay hungry, because I think people that is not hungry, that stay hungry, like stay hungry, and also know that failure is part of the deal. That's why I love this quote from Michael Jordan. He says, in his career, he's missed 9,000 shots. He says that, he's missed 9,000 shots. He's lost over 300 times. 26 times he's been entrusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. And he said he fails over and over and over again, and that's why he succeeds. Failure is just an opportunity to step up. It's you think it's a setback, but it's really a setup for your success. So get after it, stay hungry. Don't let other people tell you what you can't do. Surround yourself with the right people, and follow your blog. Follow what you're talking about. You're equipping, inspiring people, and know that those things matter. Like your personality, that matters. When you're doing it, that's a big deal. Also know that your presentation, your appearance, those things matter. So don't neglect the little things, while at the same time staying hungry and focused on the big picture.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Man, so much wisdom from Scott Williams. So thank you so much again for having us today. And right after this, we're going to play a game of Did Scott Say It?
Man, Scott dropped a lot of knowledge on us, which is why it's time for Kelsey's key takeaways. Number one, I hope you heard that he was a concert promoter, a lobbyist, and a preacher before he eventually became the successful consultant and speaker that he is today. So if you've had a lot of course corrections, don't let that discourage you. Number two, I hope you heard that he is obviously very positive. And things are going to get rough in those first couple years of business for sure. So you have to believe in what you're doing. You have to stay positive. But it was also obvious that Scott was an early adopter. He jumped onto trends. He was blogging when people didn't know what blogs were. He was on Twitter when it was just a bunch of geeks on there. So how can we be more innovative and how can we become early adopters? Well, I think that this is something that can be learned. So in the show notes, I've included some links on how to become an early adopter and be more innovative. Number three, he talked about his book opening doors for him. If you have a personal brand, if you're an entrepreneur, and especially a speaker, you have got to finish that book. You have got to write that book and either publish it yourself or try and get a traditional publishing deal. I can tell you personally, with my book, Go Solo, it totally took my personal brand to the next level. So write your book. Number four, he says more than once that he is constantly learning. We have got to stay learning all the time. And he also says that he's learning from the best. Look at the best in the industry and see what they're doing. He talked to Seth Godin. #legit. Okay? So whoever in their industry, not necessarily your own industry, but whoever is leading the way in their industry, see what they're doing and see if you can apply what's working for them to what you're doing in your industry and your business. Number five, he also said that he got more speaking engagements simply by over-delivering every single time. And he mentioned that your personal presentation, your brand, and those small details really matter. So take a moment and look at your personal brand, look at how you're presenting yourself, and look at those small details. And then also make sure that every time you get an opportunity, you're over-delivering. Lastly, as far as his favorite tools and products that he likes to use, make sure to check out the show notes where I've linked those for you so you can check out all of Scott's favorite things. And one final note of encouragement for you is a segment I like to call If They Can Make It. I'm sure a lot of you have an app idea and everyone in your life is like, it's so hard to make it with an app. You can never make real money with apps. Well, I give you the iFart app, which made quite a stink when it came out, making almost $500,000 because yes, people paid 99 cents for a fart app. So Joel Comm can toot his own horn that he got over 600,000 downloads, you guys. Now, if stinkers come up to you saying that you can never make it with an app, just show them the iFart app and say, if they can make it.
So after I say it, you'll just say, yes, you wrote it, or no, you think it's fake. Are you ready?
Okay, so I wrote it.
Or you didn't, right. Okay. Persistence is the fuel that propels you down the road of success.
I said it. I wrote it.
No. Encouragement is the fuel that propels you down the road of success. Okay. What appears to be a failure is actually a setup for your success. Stay focused.
I said it.
Nope. What appears to be a setback.
I just said that earlier,
too. I know, when you said it in the interview, I was like, oh, he's going to get that question.
Easy.
Okay, I'll give you an easier one.
Okay.
Believe you can fly. Believe you can touch the sky. Think about it every night and day. Spread your wings and fly away.
No, I didn't write that.
No, you're correct. You did not.
That's good.
Okay. Now you feel better?
I'm good. I'm telling you, I was just playing.
All right. Constantly worrying about what people think is like running on a treadmill of misery.
I said something. I didn't say misery, though.
You're correct. You said death.
Yes.
Treadmill of death.
See, look.
Next one.
No more prizes.
The best way to respond to the naysayers and those that don't think you will succeed is to be successful.
I said it.
Close. You said uber successful. That was a tough one. Looking out for you guys. Okay. Always trying to prove yourself generally proves nothing.
No, I didn't say it. I said an iteration of that, but I didn't say that.
You're correct. Always trying to prove something generally proves nothing, which is great. This is why you need to follow him on Instagram, because these are all his quotes. Well, I mean, the real ones. And lastly, let's see. Truth, honesty, and integrity are like lions. You don't have to defend them. Simply let them loose. They will always defend themselves.
I didn't say all three. I said two of those.
Incorrect. You said all three.
Did I? Oh, man.
It was a good effort.
It was good. I should have just went with the X, like three, like the trifecta.
Well, again, I was trying to set you up to fail, so.
Yeah, you do. Let them go and they kind of handle themselves.
Wow, you guys, Scott has generously offered the Pursuit Prize for this week, which is a free 30-minute consultation with him. So if you're an entrepreneur, especially a speaker and consultant, and you want to pick his brain about your business, now is the time. Go to thepursuit.tv/apply. This page on our website is going to change every week because all of our guests have generously offered amazing giveaways. So go this week, tell us about yourself, share about the show, and you'll be entered to win. The more you share about the show online, the better your chances. Next week, I'll announce who the winner was, and I'll also be interviewing amazing celebrity photographer Jeremy Cowart. So come back next week, same time, same place. I'm Kelsey Humphreys. Thank you so much for watching The Pursuit.